Maya's hands trembled as she clutched the knife, her knuckles white against the cold steel. The man in the alley stepped closer, his breath reeking of alcohol and malice. She'd survived 2 years on these streets, but tonight felt different. Tonight felt like the end. "Just give me the bag, sweetheart," he slurred, his eyes fixed on the worn backpack containing everything she owned in this world. "No." Her voice came out stronger than she felt. "Back off." He lunged. Maya swung the knife wildly, missing by inches, and bolted toward the street. Her feet pounded against wet pavement as rain hammered down, soaking through her threadbare jacket. She didn't stop running until she reached the park, collapsing behind a bench, gasping for air that burned her lungs. This was her life now. 23 years old and hiding in parks like a hunted animal. The memory of her mother's warm kitchen felt like a dream from someone else's life. Cancer had taken her mom 5 years ago, leaving Maya with a stepfather whose true nature emerged the moment they lowered the casket into the ground. The bruises started small. Then came the broken ribs. The night he came into her room with that look in his eyes, Maya grabbed what she could and ran. She'd tried. God, how she'd tried. The diner job lasted 8 months until the owner sold the business. The shelter had a 3-month limit. Her friends from high school had their own problems, their own lives. One by one, every door closed until the streets became her only option. Maya pulled her jacket tighter, watching rain create rivers in the gutters. Somewhere in the city, people sat in warm apartments, complaining about trivial things, never knowing how blessed they were to have a roof, a bed, a future. She'd stopped dreaming about those things. Dreams were luxuries she couldn't afford. The black limousine appeared without warning, its headlights cutting through the rain like searchlights. Maya tensed, ready to run again. Rich people didn't come to this neighborhood unless they were looking for drugs or trouble. The car slowed as it passed her bench, and through the tinted window, she felt eyes watching her. She stood, preparing to flee, when the limo stopped completely. The rear window rolled down, revealing a man's silhouette. "You're going to catch pneumonia out here," a deep voice called out. Maya said nothing, calculating her escape routes. "I'm not going to hurt you. I'd like to offer you a meal. A real meal. No strings attached." "Right," Maya scoffed. "Because rich men always offer homeless girls free meals out of the goodness of their hearts." "Fair point," the man acknowledged. There was something different in his tone, something that made Maya pause. Not pity. Not lust. Something else entirely. "The restaurant is public. You can leave anytime. You remind me of someone." Maya's stomach growled loudly, betraying her. When had she last eaten? Yesterday morning, half a sandwich from a trash can behind a cafe. Her pride screamed at her to walk away, but her body was shutting down. One meal. What did she have to lose that hadn't already been taken? "Fine," she said. "But I'm keeping my knife. I wouldn't expect anything less." The restaurant was the kind of place Maya had only seen in movies. Crystal chandeliers, white tablecloths, waiters in actual tuxedos. She felt every eye turn toward her as she walked in, dripping rainwater onto marble floors, her dirty clothes marking her as an intruder in this world of wealth. The man beside her, however, commanded such presence that no one dared comment. He was tall, maybe early 40s, with dark hair touched with silver at the temples. His suit probably cost more than most cars. But it was his eyes that caught her attention, grey and storm-filled, carrying a weight she recognized. Pain. Loss. The kind that didn't heal. "Order anything you want," he said as they sat in a private corner booth. Maya's hands shook as she opened the menu. No prices. Places without prices scared her because she knew she couldn't afford anything in them. She ordered carefully, choosing the smallest entree, not wanting to seem greedy. "I'm Alexander Hart," he said, watching her with those calculating eyes. Maya nearly choked on her water. Alexander Hart. She'd seen his face on billboards, in magazines discarded on park benches. Tech mogul. Youngest self-made billionaire in the country. The man who'd revolutionized cloud computing and artificial intelligence. "I know who you are," she said carefully. "Which makes this even weirder. What do you want?" "Direct." "I appreciate that." He leaned back, studying her. "What's your name?" "Maya. Maya Rodriguez." "How long have you been on the streets, Maya?" "Long enough to know when someone's asking questions that lead somewhere I might not want to go." A ghost of a smile crossed his face. "You're smart." "Good. I need someone smart." He paused as the waiter brought bread, waiting until they were alone again. "I'm going to tell you something very few people know. 3 years ago, my wife Emma was 8 months pregnant with our first child. She had an aneurysm. The doctors saved the baby, but Emma died on the operating table." Maya felt her chest tighten. Whatever she'd expected, it wasn't this raw honesty from a stranger. "The baby, my daughter Sophie, lived for 6 days. 6 perfect, terrible days where I held her, talked to her, promised her the world. Then her heart just stopped." His voice remained steady, but his knuckles were white around his water glass. "The doctors said it was a genetic condition. Both Emma and I were carriers. Any biological child we had would have the same issue." "I'm sorry," Maya whispered, meaning it. She knew grief. It was an old companion. "I've spent 3 years building an empire I don't care about, living in a house that feels like a mausoleum, watching my friends have families while I attend their children's birthday parties with a smile painted on my face." He met her eyes. "I want a child, Maya. I want a second chance at being a father. But I can't risk another loss, another genetic combination that kills an innocent child." Maya's food arrived, but she'd lost her appetite. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I'm about to make you an offer that will sound insane." He pulled out a folder from his briefcase, sliding it across the table. "I want to hire you to carry my child. IVF, using my genetic material and a carefully screened donor egg. You'd live in my guest house, receive the best prenatal care money can buy, and when the baby is born, you'll sign away all parental rights and walk away with $500,000. The restaurant spun. Maya gripped the table edge, certain she'd misheard. "You want to pay me to be a surrogate?" "Essentially, yes." "Why me? Why not use an actual surrogacy agency?" "Because agencies ask questions, have regulations, require psychological evaluations and legal processes that take months. They'd want to know why I'm doing this, dig into my past, potentially expose my grief to public scrutiny." He leaned forward. "And because something in your eyes tells me you understand loss. You understand what it means to have everything taken from you. I need someone who won't develop emotional attachment, who sees this as the business transaction it is." Maya's mind raced. $500,000. That was a life. That was an apartment, education, a future. That was everything she'd lost and more. "This is crazy," she breathed. "Yes. You don't even know me. I could be anyone. A drug addict, mentally ill, a criminal. My private investigator will conduct a thorough background check. You'll undergo complete medical screening. If anything disqualifies you, the offer disappears." His expression softened slightly. "But my instinct tells me you're none of those things. You're someone who got dealt a terrible hand and did what she had to do to survive. And if I say no, then you finish your meal, I give you $500 for your trouble and the taxi ride wherever you want to go, and we never see each other again." He stood, placing a business card on the table. "Think about it. You have my number. But Maya, understand this is a one-time offer. If you walk away from this table without agreeing, the opportunity is gone forever." He left her sitting there, staring at the card, her untouched food growing cold. The waiter hovered nearby, uncertain. Maya picked up her fork with trembling hands and took a bite. The steak melted on her tongue, so rich and perfect it almost made her cry. She ate mechanically, her mind spinning with possibilities and dangers. $500,000. A warm bed for 9 months, but also, carrying a stranger's child. Giving birth and handing over a baby like a package. Living in the world of a man she didn't know, completely at his mercy. Maya thought about the man in the alley tonight. The countless other nights of fear, cold, hunger, and degradation. She thought about next winter, which would be her third on the streets. Statistics said most homeless people died within 5 years of losing their housing. She was already at 2. She pulled out the business card, running her thumb over the embossed letters. Alexander Hart, CEO, Hart Technologies. A private cell number written in bold ink below. What did she have to lose her dignity? The streets had already taken most of that. Her freedom, she was already trapped in a prison of poverty. Her future, she didn't have one. Maya called the number before she could second-guess herself. He answered on the first ring. "Yes or no, Maya?" "Yes," she whispered. "God help me, yes." "Good. My driver will pick you up in front of the restaurant in 10 minutes. Bring whatever you need. You're moving in tonight." The line went dead. Maya sat in stunned silence, wondering if she'd just saved her life or sold her soul. Maybe both. Maybe there was no difference anymore. The guest house was bigger than any place Maya had ever lived. 2 bedrooms, a full kitchen, a bathroom with a tub she could actually lie down in. Clean sheets. Central heating. Windows that locked from the inside. She walked through it in a daze, touching surfaces to confirm they were real. Alexander had left her at the door with a simple instruction: get some rest. We'll talk details in the morning. Then he'd disappeared into the main house, a sprawling modern mansion visible through the trees. Maya stood in the shower for 40 minutes, watching dirt and street grime swirl down the drain. She scrubbed her skin until it was raw and pink, washing away 2 years of filth and shame. When she finally stepped out, she caught her reflection in the mirror and barely recognized herself. Thin. Too thin. Her ribs showed. Her hip bones jutted out sharply. Dark circles shadowed her eyes. She looked like exactly what she was, a survivor hanging on by her fingernails. In the bedroom, she found new clothes laid out on the bed. Soft pajamas, underwear still in packages, socks, a robe. Everything in her size. Alexander had been very thorough with his investigator. The thought should have scared her, but mostly she felt relieved. At least she knew what she was dealing with, a man who planned, who controlled, who left nothing to chance. She climbed into the bed, sinking into a mattress that felt like a cloud. The sheets smelled like lavender. Maya pulled the covers up to her chin, waiting for the other shoe to drop, for the catch to reveal itself. But exhaustion overwhelmed paranoia, and for the first time in 2 years, she slept without fear. Morning came with a knock on the door. Maya jolted awake, momentarily disoriented by the soft bed and warm room. Another knock, more insistent. "Maya, we need to talk." Alexander's voice carried through the door. She pulled on the rope and opened the door. He stood there in running clothes, already back from what was clearly an early workout. Even in casual wear, he radiated that same controlled power. "Good, you're up." "Coffee?" He was already walking toward the kitchen before she could answer. Maya followed, still feeling like she was moving through a dream. Alexander moved efficiently through her kitchen, making coffee like he'd done it 1,000 times. He probably had staff for this in his house. The gesture felt oddly personal. "We need to establish ground rules," he said, handing her a mug. "First, you'll see my personal physician today for a complete medical workup. If everything checks out, we'll begin the IVF process next week. Second, you'll have a monthly allowance of $5,000 for personal expenses, clothing, whatever you need. Third, you're free to come and go as you please, but I'll need to know your general schedule for safety reasons. Fourth, we'll have weekly dinners together to discuss the pregnancy progress and any needs you have. And fifth, the most important rule, we keep this professional. No emotional attachment, no romantic complications, no confusion about what this is." Maya sipped her coffee, processing. "And what exactly is this?" "A business arrangement. You're providing a service. I'm compensating you for it. Nothing more. Except I'm not assembling computers or writing code. I'm growing a human being inside my body. I'm aware." His jaw tightened. "Which is why the compensation is significant and the prenatal care will be extraordinary. You'll have the best of everything. And after, when the baby is born, you sign the papers, take your money, and start whatever life you want. I've already drafted a contract that ensures you have no legal parental rights or responsibilities. You'll never have to see the child again." The clinical way he described it made Maya's chest ache, but she pushed the feeling down. This was business. She needed to think of it as business. What if something goes wrong? Pregnancy complications, birth defects, miscarriage. You'll still receive $100,000 for your time, plus all medical expenses covered. If the pregnancy successfully reaches term but the child has health issues, that's my responsibility, not yours. The full payment stands regardless. He'd thought of everything. Maya wondered how long he'd been planning this, how many lonely nights he'd spent working out every detail of his scheme to buy himself a second chance at fatherhood. "I'll need to see the contract," she said. "And I want my own lawyer to review it." Something like respect flickered in his eyes. "Smart. I'll arrange for a lawyer, someone with no connection to me. Their fees are covered. Take as long as you need to review everything. Why are you being so fair about this? You could take advantage. I have no leverage here." Alexander set down his coffee cup, his expression hardening. "Because I'm not a monster, despite what you might think. I'm offering you a way out of hell in exchange for something I desperately want. That doesn't mean I plan to exploit you. You're taking a significant risk, making a huge sacrifice. The compensation should reflect that. You really want this baby. More than you can possibly imagine." The rawness in his voice made her look away. "I held my daughter for 6 days, Maya. 6 days of wondering what kind of person she'd become, what she'd look like when she laughed, whether she'd have Emma's kindness or my stubbornness. Then I buried her in a plot next to her mother, and I've been empty ever since. I need this. I need to be someone's father, to matter to another human being in that fundamental way. It's the only thing I want that money can't buy." Maya felt tears prick her eyes. She understood that hunger for purpose, for mattering. "Okay," she said softly. "Let's do this." The next 3 weeks blurred together in a whirlwind of medical appointments, legal documents, and adjustments to her new life. Dr. Sarah Chen, a renowned fertility specialist, declared Maya surprisingly healthy despite her recent circumstances. Her body was resilient, young enough to bounce back quickly with proper nutrition. "You're malnourished but not severely," Dr. Chen explained during one appointment. "We'll get you on a strict diet and vitamin regimen. In a month, you'll be in optimal condition for IVF." Maya gained 12 pounds in those weeks. Her face filled out, losing its gaunt, haunted quality. Her hair, properly washed and conditioned, revealed itself to be thick and dark with natural waves. She barely recognized herself in mirrors anymore. The lawyer Alexander hired, Margaret Wu, was a fierce woman in her 60s who reviewed every line of the contract with brutal honesty. "This is highly unusual," Margaret said during their second meeting. "Surrogacy contracts typically involve agencies, married couples, extensive psychological evaluations. This arrangement is legal, barely, but it skirts several ethical boundaries." "Is it safe for me legally?" Maya asked. "The contract protects you financially and legally absolves you of parental responsibility. You're covered if anything goes wrong medically." "But Maya, I have to ask, are you emotionally prepared for this? Carrying a child and giving it up isn't like donating blood. Hormones, bonding, the physical experience of pregnancy and birth, these things change people." "I can handle it," Maya said with more confidence than she felt. Margaret studied her with shrewd eyes. "Make sure you can. Because once you sign this, you're committed. Walking away mid-pregnancy would result in significant legal consequences." Maya signed anyway. What choice did she have? Return to the streets, to cold nights and dangerous men, to the slow death of hope? No. This was her one chance at a future. She'd make it work. The IVF procedure took place on a grey Tuesday morning in March. Maya lay on the examination table while Dr. Chen performed the embryo transfer, Alexander sitting in the corner of the room, his expression unreadable. "2 embryos, Dr. Chen said. To increase our chances of success. You might end up with twins. Whatever happens, happens," Alexander said quietly. Maya stared at the ceiling, feeling the slight pressure of the procedure, wondering if this moment would change everything. 2 tiny clusters of cells, carrying half of Alexander's DNA and half from some anonymous donor chosen for health and intelligence. Strange how life could begin so clinically, so far removed from love or passion. "All done," Dr. Chen announced. "Maya, you need to rest for the next 48 hours. No strenuous activity. Let's give these little ones the best chance to implant." The 2-week wait for the pregnancy test felt eternal. Maya stayed in the guest house mostly, reading, watching television, trying not to obsess over every twinge and sensation in her body. Alexander checked in daily, his visits brief and awkward. They were 2 strangers bound by a bizarre agreement, neither sure how to act around the other. "Are you comfortable? Do you need anything?" he'd ask, standing in the doorway like a vampire waiting for an invitation. "I'm fine," Maya would respond, and he'd leave, both of them relieved to end the uncomfortable interaction. But on the 10th day, something shifted. Maya was reading in the garden when Alexander appeared with 2 cups of coffee. "Decaf," he assured her, sitting on the bench beside her without asking. I thought we should talk. Really talk, not just the clinical updates. Maya set down her book. About what? About how strange this is. How neither of us knows how to act around each other. He stared into his coffee. I've been thinking about Emma a lot lately. She'd find this whole situation absurd. She always said I tried to control things that couldn't be controlled. Tell me about her, Maya said impulsively. If I'm carrying your child, I should know something about the woman you loved. Alexander's expression softened in a way Maya had never seen. She was a high school English teacher. We met at a charity event my company sponsored. I was giving some pretentious speech about technology and education, and afterward, she came up and politely destroyed every point I'd made. He laughed, the sound rusty from disuse. She was brilliant, funny, kind to everyone regardless of their station in life. She made me want to be better than I was. She sounds amazing. She was. And she wanted children so badly. We'd been trying for 3 years when she finally got pregnant. She was so happy, Maya. Radiant. She made lists of names, painted the nursery herself, talked to her belly every night. His voice cracked. Then she was just gone. One moment planning our future, the next moment bleeding out while doctors fought to save our daughter. I didn't even get to say goodbye to either of them properly. Maya's throat tightened. I'm sorry you went through that. I'm sorry you ended up homeless, Alexander said, turning to look at her. What happened to your family? Maya hesitated, then decided honesty for honesty was fair. My mom died of cancer when I was 18. My stepdad turned out to be a monster once she was gone. He hurt me in ways I don't talk about. One night I ran, and I've been running ever since. She met his eyes. So I guess we're both survivors of different kinds of loss. I guess we are. He stood to leave, then paused. Maya, thank you for doing this. I know it's not easy. Thank you for saving my life, she replied softly. After he left, Maya sat in the garden, feeling the sun on her face, and wondered when she'd started seeing Alexander as a person instead of a means to an end. The pregnancy test came back positive. 2 lines, clear and undeniable, announcing that 2 tiny embryos had successfully implanted in Maya's uterus. She was pregnant. Dr. Chen confirmed it with blood work, beaming like this was the most normal, wonderful thing in the world instead of the product of a desperate billionaire's contract with a homeless girl. Congratulations to you both, she said, looking between Maya and Alexander. You're going to have a baby. Maybe 2. Alexander's face transformed. Pure joy, unguarded and stunning in its intensity. In that moment, Maya glimpsed the man he must have been before tragedy carved away everything soft and hopeful. Thank you, he whispered, and Maya wasn't sure if he was talking to her or God or the universe itself. The first trimester was brutal. Maya spent weeks hunched over the toilet, vomiting everything she ate, her newly gained weight melting away again. Dr. Chen prescribed medication, but nothing completely stopped the relentless nausea. Alexander hovered anxiously, hiring a private chef to make foods that might stay down, checking in multiple times per day. His concern felt genuine, which confused Maya. This was supposed to be a business transaction, but it felt increasingly personal. You need to eat something, he insisted one evening, standing in her bedroom doorway with a tray of bland crackers and ginger tea. I can't, Maya groaned from the bed. Everything makes me sick. He sat on the edge of the bed, completely inappropriate and somehow natural. Just one cracker. For the baby. Maya took the cracker because his expression was so earnest it hurt. "You're going to be a good father," she said. "Annoying, but good." "High praise," he said dryly, but she saw his eyes soften. At 12 weeks, the ultrasound revealed 2 strong heartbeats. Twins. 2 babies tumbling inside her, already complex enough to have fingers and toes and rapidly developing brains. Maya stared at the screen, mesmerized and terrified. 2 boys, Dr. Chen announced. Both looking healthy. Alexander's hand found Maya's, squeezing tight. She didn't pull away. In that moment, staring at the 2 miracles growing inside her body, pretending distance felt impossible. "Boys," Alexander breathed. "I'm having sons." The pregnancy progressed. Maya's belly swelled, her body transforming into something unrecognizable. She'd expected to feel detached, clinical about the process. Instead, every flutter and kick reminded her that she was creating life, that 2 human beings depended entirely on her body for survival. It terrified her. Alexander noticed her growing anxiety. They'd fallen into a routine of nightly dinners together, initially awkward affairs that slowly evolved into the highlight of Maya's day. He was funny when he let his guard down, sharp and observant, surprisingly easy to talk to. "What's wrong?" he asked one evening, watching her push food around her plate. "I felt them move today," Maya admitted. "Really move, not just flutters. And I realized I'm getting attached." "I'm not supposed to get attached." Alexander set down his fork. "Maya. No, let me finish. I'm scared, okay, I'm scared that when I have to give them up, it's going to destroy me. But I'm more scared of going back to who I was, where I was. So I'm stuck between 2 terrors, and I don't know which one is worse." "You could keep them," Alexander said quietly. Maya's head snapped up. "What? You could keep the babies? Change the arrangement. I'd pay child support, help however you needed. You wouldn't have to give them up if you don't want to. That's not the deal. The deal can change if we both want it to." Maya's chest tightened painfully. The offer was tempting, dangerously so. But she knew the truth. "I'd be a terrible mother. I don't have the skills, the patience, the stability. These babies deserve better than someone like me." "Someone like you?" Alexander's voice hardened. "You mean someone strong enough to survive hell, someone resourceful enough to stay alive when most people would have given up, someone brave enough to accept an insane offer from a stranger because it was your only chance?" He leaned forward. "Those kids would be lucky to have you as a mother." Tears streamed down Maya's face. "Don't do this. Don't make this harder than it already is. I signed a contract. I'm giving you your sons. That's the end of it." Alexander looked like he wanted to argue, but he nodded instead. "Okay. But Maya, if you change your mind at any point, the offer stands. You don't owe me anything." After he left, Maya cried until she had no tears left. Because the truth was, she was already in love with the babies growing inside her. Every kick, every hiccup, every moment of their existence reminded her that she was capable of creating something beautiful and perfect despite everything ugly in her past. But love didn't make her qualified to be a mother. Love didn't erase her trauma or give her parenting skills or magically transform her into someone stable and secure. The kindest thing she could do was let them go to a father who could give them everything. Even if it killed her. The second trimester brought relief from nausea and a strange kind of peace. Maya's body settled into pregnancy, blooming in ways that surprised her. Her skin glowed, her hair thickened, her curves filled out into something almost voluptuous. She caught Alexander staring sometimes, quickly looking away when she noticed. The tension between them grew. They spent more time together, their dinners stretching into long conversations about everything and nothing. He told her about building his company from nothing, the sleepless nights and ruthless decisions required for success. She told him about her mother, the small happy memories before cancer destroyed everything. She made the best chilaquiles, Maya said one night, smiling at the memory. Every Sunday morning. The whole house smelled like salsa and cheese and home. Teach me, Alexander said. I'll have the chef get ingredients. You can show me how to make them. So they cooked together the following Sunday, Maya directing while Alexander chopped vegetables with surprising competence. He got salsa on his expensive shirt and laughed like it was the funniest thing in the world. They ate the chilaquiles in the kitchen, sitting on counters like teenagers, and Maya felt happier than she had in years. This is dangerous, she said softly. What is this? Us becoming friends. It'll make everything harder. Alexander studied her with those grey eyes. Maybe. Or maybe it'll make it easier. Maybe knowing each other, actually caring, means we'll handle what comes next with more grace. You're an optimist, Maya accused. Emma used to say I was a romantic disguised as a cynic. He smiled sadly. I think I stopped being either after she died. But lately, with you, I remember what it felt like to hope. Maya's heart hammered. Alexander. I know. I know what this is, what we agreed to. I'm not trying to complicate things. I just want you to know that you matter. As a person, not just as the woman carrying my children. You matter to me. Maya fled to her room after that, her emotions in chaos. This wasn't the plan. She wasn't supposed to care about him. He wasn't supposed to see her as anything but a vessel for his sons. But somewhere between the medical appointments and shared meals and quiet conversations, they'd become something neither of them anticipated. Friends. Or maybe something more complicated that neither dared name. At 24 weeks, Dr. Chen ordered bed rest. Maya's blood pressure had spiked, a warning sign of potential preeclampsia. Alexander converted one of his guest rooms in the main house into a bedroom for her, insisting she needed to be closer so he could monitor her. I can take care of myself, Maya protested weakly. Humor me, Alexander said, already carrying her bags to the main house. Living in Alexander's space changed everything. They saw each other constantly, his concern almost suffocating. He worked from home, bringing his laptop to sit in her room while she rested. Sometimes they talked. Sometimes they sat in comfortable silence. The intimacy of it terrified Maya. Read to me, she asked one afternoon, desperate for distraction from her spiraling thoughts. Alexander grabbed a book from his shelf, something by Gabriel Garcia Marquez, and began reading in a low, steady voice. Maya closed her eyes, letting the words wash over her, feeling the babies shift inside her body in response to their father's voice. This was too much. Too domestic, too couple-like, too real. But Maya was too exhausted and confused to fight it anymore. The first real scare came at 28 weeks. Maya woke in the middle of the night to sharp pains and wetness between her legs. She screamed for Alexander, terrified she was losing the babies. He burst into her room, took one look, and called 911. Then he held her hand in the ambulance, his face pale but determined. They're going to be okay, he kept saying. You're going to be okay. At the hospital, doctors determined it was a partial placental abruption. Serious but not catastrophic. They stabilized Maya, gave her medication to stop early labor, and admitted her for observation. Alexander never left her side. He slept in the chair next to her bed, waking at every beep of the monitors. When Maya cried from fear and hormones and exhaustion, he climbed into the narrow hospital bed and held her, murmuring reassurances. "I'm scared," Maya whispered against his chest. "I know. Me too." His arms tightened around her. "But we're in this together. Whatever happens, you're not alone." Maya wanted to remind him that they weren't actually together, that this was temporary, that she was just the hired womb. But the words wouldn't come. Because in that moment, in that sterile hospital room with his heart beating steadily against her ear, pretending felt impossible. They kept her in the hospital for a week. Alexander managed his empire from her bedside, taking calls and video meetings while holding her hand. Flowers arrived daily from people Maya didn't know, business associates offering congratulations to Alexander on his impending fatherhood. "They think we're a couple," Maya observed. "I haven't corrected them," Alexander admitted. "It's simpler than explaining the truth." "Which is?" "That I hired you." He met her eyes. "That's still what this is, right? Just a business arrangement?" Maya's heart raced. "What else would it be?" "I don't know." His thumb traced circles on her palm. "But Maya, this stopped feeling like business to me weeks ago. Maybe months ago. I care about you. Not just because you're carrying my sons. Because you're you. Because you make me laugh. Because you're brave and stubborn and you see through all my pretension. Because you make me remember what it feels like to want something more than just getting through another day." "Don't," Maya whispered, tears streaming down her face. "Please don't do this." "Why not?" "Because I'm falling for you, and it's the stupidest thing I could possibly do. Because in a few months I have to hand over your babies and walk away. Because we live in different worlds, and the only reason I'm in yours is because you're paying me. Because this isn't real, Alexander. It can't be real." "What if I want it to be?" He cupped her face, his thumb wiping away her tears. "What if we tear up the contract? What if we do this together, for real, as partners?" "You don't mean that. You're grateful and scared and we're both emotional because of the hospital scare. But when the babies come, you'll remember that I'm just the homeless girl you picked up off the street." "You were never just anything," Alexander said fiercely. "From the first moment I saw you, you were extraordinary. And Maya, I'm terrified because I'm falling in love with you, and I have no idea if you feel the same way or if I'm just a safe harbor until you can afford to leave." Maya's world tilted. "You love me? I think I've loved you since you pulled a knife on me in that alley and told me to back off. I fell in love with your strength. I fell more in love watching you bloom back to life. I fell completely in love watching you create life, seeing you become the mother of my children." His voice cracked. "So yes, Maya Rodriguez, I love you. Utterly. Completely. Inconveniently and probably stupidly. But I do." She kissed him. It was instinct, need, the only response she could give when words failed. His lips were warm and gentle, tasting like coffee and hope. He kissed her back like she was precious, breakable, essential. When they finally pulled apart, both breathless, Maya whispered, "I love you too. God help me, I love you too." They left the hospital 2 days later, Maya on strict bed rest and Alexander refusing to leave her side. They moved forward in this strange new reality where the contract existed but didn't matter, where lines had been crossed and couldn't be uncrossed. "What do we tell people?" Maya asked as they settled back into the main house. The truth, Alexander said simply. That I hired you as a surrogate, and we fell in love. It's unconventional, but our whole situation has been unconventional from the start. Your business associates will think I'm a gold digger. Let them think whatever they want. I know the truth. You know the truth. That's all that matters. But Maya worried. She'd been homeless 4 months ago. Now she was pregnant with a billionaire's twins and allegedly in a relationship with him. It sounded like a bad romance novel. People would judge. They'd assume she'd trapped him, played some long game for his money. Hey, Alexander said, reading her expression. Whatever you're thinking, stop. I pursued you. I offered you this arrangement. If anything, I trapped you. That's not how society will see it. Then society can go to hell. He pulled her close, his hand settling on her swollen belly where their sons kicked and rolled. I'm done living for other people's opinions. Emma's death taught me life's too short for that. I want to be happy, Maya. And you make me happy. Do I make you happy? Terrifyingly happy, she admitted. Then that's enough. The next 8 weeks were the strangest, most wonderful of Maya's life. Her body grew enormous with the twins, her belly stretching to accommodate 2 rapidly growing boys. Alexander attended every doctor's appointment, his excitement building as they approached the due date. They named the babies together one night, lying in bed with Maya's belly between them like a mountain range. What about Marcus for baby A? Alexander suggested. After my grandfather. And Elias for baby B, Maya said. After my mother's father. Marcus and Elias Hart, Alexander tested the names. It sounds right. What if they have my last name too? Maya asked quietly. Marcus and Elias Hart Rodriguez. Alexander's eyes widened. You want that? I thought you were giving up parental rights. That was before. Before us. Before I realized I can't just walk away from them. Or from you. Maya took a shaky breath. I'm terrified of being a mother. I have no idea what I'm doing. But I can't imagine not being in their lives. Not being in your life. So if the offer still stands, if you still want to do this together. Yes, Alexander interrupted. God, yes. 1,000 times yes. They cried together, holding each other and the babies between them, this strange family formed from tragedy and desperation and unexpected love. The legal revisions took weeks. Margaret Wu made them both undergo counseling, ensuring this decision was genuine and not just hormones and fear. They passed every evaluation. Whatever this relationship was, however it had started, it was real now. You're sure about this? Margaret asked Maya during their final meeting. You're giving up $500,000 guaranteed to take a chance on a relationship that might not last. I'm sure, Maya said, reaching for Alexander's hand. The money was never the point. Survival was. And I've learned that survival isn't just about being alive. It's about having something worth living for. Maya went into labor 3 weeks early, her water breaking during dinner. Alexander called Dr. Chen while racing to the hospital, his hands shaking on the steering wheel. You're okay, he kept saying. Everything's okay. I know, Maya said through contractions. Because I'm with you. The labor lasted 14 hours. Long, exhausting hours of pain and fear and encouragement. Alexander never left her side, letting her squeeze his hand until his fingers went numb, wiping her face with cool cloths, telling her she was strong and amazing and almost there. Marcus arrived first at 3 in the morning, screaming his lungs out, perfect and furious at being evicted from his comfortable womb. Maya sobbed as they placed him on her chest, this tiny human she'd created, his father's dark hair and her nose. "He's beautiful," Alexander whispered, kissing Maya's forehead. "You're beautiful. You did it." Elias followed 20 minutes later, quieter but just as perfect. 2 sons, 2 miracles, 2 pieces of a family that had formed in the most unlikely way. Dr. Chen placed both babies on Maya's chest, skin to skin, while Alexander wrapped his arms around all 3 of them. This moment, this perfect crystallization of joy, was worth every terrible thing that had led them here. "Welcome to the world, Marcus and Elias," Maya whispered. "Your dads and I are so happy you're finally here." "Dads?" Alexander questioned, eyebrows raised. Maya smiled tiredly. "Well, I figure if I'm their mom and you're their dad, we need a better term than father. Besides, they're lucky. They get 2 parents who love them more than anything." 3 parents, Alexander corrected. "Because I'm hoping you'll marry me, Maya Rodriguez." "You're proposing now?" "I just pushed 2 humans out of my body. Terrible timing, I know. But I can't wait another second. I love you. I want to build a life with you. I want to wake up every morning knowing you're mine and I'm yours and we're a family. So yes, I'm proposing now. Marry me." Maya looked at her sons, then at the man who'd saved her life and given her everything, who loved her despite knowing every broken part of her history. "Yes," she said. "Yes, I'll marry you." The nurses cheered. Dr. Chen dabbed at her eyes. And in that hospital room, surrounded by beeping machines and the smell of antiseptic and new life, a family was officially born. 6 months later, Maya stood in the garden where she'd once sat wondering if she'd made a terrible mistake. Now she wore a simple white dress, holding a bouquet of wild flowers, watching Alexander play with their sons on a blanket in the sunshine. Marcus grabbed his father's nose. Elias gummed his fist. Both boys were healthy, growing fast, already showing distinct personalities. Marcus was serious and observant. Elias was cheerful and easy, always smiling. "Ready?" Margaret Wu asked, appearing at Maya's side. She'd agreed to officiate the small ceremony, one of the few guests besides Alexander's business partner and his wife. "Ready," Maya confirmed. The ceremony was simple. They'd both agreed that elaborate weddings felt wrong when their relationship itself was so unconventional. Just simple vows, exchanging rings, promising to love each other through whatever came next. "I promise to always see you," Alexander said, holding both her hands. "Not the homeless girl I found, not the surrogate I hired, but Maya. Strong, brave, beautiful Maya who gave me back my life when I thought it was over. I promise to honor you, protect you, and love you every single day for the rest of my life." Maya's voice shook as she gave her vows. "I promise to trust you, even when my past tells me not to trust anyone. I promise to build a future with you instead of running from my history. I promise to be the best mother I can be to our sons, and the best partner I can be to you. You saved my life, Alexander. Every single day, I promise to make that salvation worth it." They kissed as husband and wife, their sons squealing from the blanket, and Maya thought about how strange life was. How a single desperate decision made in a rainstorm had led to this moment. How rock bottom had become the foundation for everything beautiful. "What are you thinking?" Alexander asked later, as they slow danced in the garden while their sons napped in their bassinets nearby. "That I would do it all again," Maya said honestly. "Every terrible moment, every night on the streets, every bit of pain. Because it led me here. To you. To them. To this life I never dreamed possible. You know what I'm thinking. Alexander pulled her closer. That the homeless girl who pulled a knife on me was the bravest person I'd ever met. And I was right. You just keep getting braver. Maya laughed, resting her head on his chest. I pulled a knife on you. That night in the alley, before the limo. You were defending yourself against some drunk. I saw you from the car, saw that fierce determination to survive, and I thought, that's the one. That's the woman strong enough to give me back hope. You never told me you saw that. I was waiting for the right moment. He kissed the top of her head. This feels like the right moment. They swayed in the sunset, two people who'd found each other in the darkest circumstances and built something luminous. Behind them, their son slept peacefully, unaware that their very existence was a miracle, that their family was born from a crazy offer and an even crazier acceptance. Thank you, Maya whispered. For what? For seeing me. For saving me. For loving me. Thank you for saying yes, Alexander replied. For trusting me. For giving me Marcus and Elias. For giving me you. As darkness fell and stars emerged overhead, Maya held her husband close and listened to her son's quiet breathing and thought about the YouTube video that would never be made about her life. Because this wasn't a clickbait story with a shocking twist. This was simply the truth. Sometimes the most unbelievable miracles start with the most desperate decisions. Sometimes love grows in the strangest soil. Sometimes the worst night of your life is actually the first step toward the best day. And sometimes, when a homeless girl accepts a billionaire's impossible offer, what happens next isn't what anyone expected. What happens next is life. Real, messy, beautiful life. The kind worth fighting for. The kind worth surviving for. The kind worth saying yes for. If you enjoyed this incredible journey from desperation to hope, from loneliness to love, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more amazing stories that will touch your heart. Hit that like button if Maya and Alexander's story moved you, and drop a comment below telling us what you thought about their unconventional path to family. Your support means everything and helps us continue sharing these powerful stories. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss our next emotional journey. Thank you for watching, and remember, sometimes the most beautiful destinations require the bravest first steps.